Um, I know Rob just got his feet wet basically in the last series, but how much does he have to get the rust off right now? What have you seen in just the short amount of time he has played to this point?
Yeah, physically, he's fine. The wind, well, I don't think was quite there those last two games. Like I said, you can scrimmage all you want. There's no way to really emulate that live game pace and action. And so to get his wind back up will be big this week. Just getting some live work in the last few days and just get him built back up so he can get back to his normal rotation lineups and minutes.
How, by sweeping, you guys earned yourself a pretty good amount of prep time. I mean, just how important is that going to be for him to get up to speed?
Yeah, it's big. It's big for a lot of reasons. We got, 4 guys that played pretty heavy minutes in that series, so the added rest is good for them and for Rob in general. Like you said, low minutes in 2 games, but we need to get this week some activity. And like I said, we'll get a good scrimmage in tomorrow, and a big piece of that will be getting Rob back acclimated with everything. And so, going forward, we want to get him back to his normal position, rotations, minutes, and this is a big part of it is this week, his build-up as well, making sure he responds well like he did in the games.
You talked about breaking habits a lot this year, and that series looked like the culmination of that effort. I think you only went ISO on 8% of the possessions, but you were effective in those moments. At what point do you think this offense found that balance between, you like to target mismatches, but you also like to move the ball around? And it felt like that, mix was right in this series.
Yeah, I would say somewhere in January consistently. I keep talking about the Phoenix game, December 31st, where we really moved the ball and did some things off ball, as well as mixing in what we do naturally well. And that was one game that stood out, but it was still up and down until mid-January, where we really started clicking. We saw the benefit and results of passing the ball, and that's when our offense kind of took off and assist numbers went up. And obviously, we were shooting it much better at that point as well. So, you look at teams. Why we are as strong as we are is defensively, we don't have a lot of weaknesses, but other teams have things we feel like we could take advantage of. And even with that being said, if we do get a mismatch, cross-match that we like, we continue to encourage our guys to play for your teammates still. Just because you get the advantage doesn't mean the shot is for you, and I think we've done a good job of attacking like we did with certain guys in the Brooklyn series, but also understanding how they're being guarded and getting guys other shots out of that.
What was your overall takeaway, the way the offense did perform in that last series?
It was good. It was, they guard a little different than the 2 teams possibly coming up. They'll be more conventional, but it was good for us to attack in a certain ways. I liked our versatility, and then we felt like we had a lot of advantages that we could attack, and got to that and got guys shots. And based on who we play coming up, it's going to be a lot of the same, where they load up and try to take away the paint, and we'll have to do the same.
The turning point, you guys pointed to the Phoenix game on New Year's Eve. That January 6th game, blowing a 25-point lead, you guys are 37-10 since. What happened after that game? Because it seemed like that was the pivotal moment where you guys were either going to sink or swim. Like, was there something, a meeting, something that happened after that Knicks game that said we're going to move forward?
Well, obviously, it was frustration by losing another big lead. That's where we kind of put our foot down and said, okay, enough is enough of losing the leads. We've done well in games and did well enough to build these leads multiple times, and how we could hold on to those. And I think the offense was a big part of it. We talked about defensively, we've been solid all year, and offensively maintaining leads and kind of zeroing in on what worked well for us and what didn't in those losses. And so we took a look at it as a coaching staff. Players were tired of it as well, and then obviously I said some things in the media that got everybody's attention.
And is meeting, having guys meet, those things overrated? Is it just an individual that has to decide they have enough of it, or does more meetings actually help this thing?
Players only type things, you're saying?
Players only, or even coaches only? Or?
No, I mean, some was forced based on COVID situations. I think it was beneficial for us to have a lot of one-on-one sessions with guys, myself and Jason and Jalen, and kind of really zeroing in with those guys of what we wanted to do. And we were forced to do it because we couldn't do stuff on court. And so that was beneficial for us. But one thing I have done this year is had monthly only players meetings. And so it's not always a negative connotation with it. It's if we're doing something well, I give those guys 15 minutes we show them the numbers where we're at over the last month or so, and then I give them 15 minutes to talk it amongst themselves, and then I'll walk back in and what do you guys got for me? And so we've had quite a few of those, and I think it encourages leadership and those guys being, communicative, and we show them where we're at, and these are the things we can improve on, and what do you guys think? What can we do better as coaches? So we've had a few of those since the start of the year as well.
You had said in training camp you were going to name captains. You didn't. Do you regret that decision, or do you think that was the right move?
No, I don't regret it. It was a focus early on, and then COVID happened, honestly. And so Al and Jalen were out from the get-go in training camp, and it just became a afterthought, honestly. So I haven't thought much about it. Guys lead in different ways, and I think I said coming into it, Marcus and Al were probably the most vocal, but we needed Jalen and Jason to step up in that area, and they do it their own way and have grown leaps and bounds this year.
Ime, you mentioned preparing for two teams. Obviously, it's a bit of a challenge not to know exactly who you're going to face. How much time do you spend on each of those possible teams now, or do you give it a little time and wait to see who you're actually going to face?
A little bit of both. The coaches that have those scouts are already working behind the scenes, and then as the series starts to shift, you obviously get a better sense of what could happen. And we started today on our team, and but we had some practice with it going into the the play-in situation where we had to focus on 3 or 4 teams. Obviously, Brooklyn had to play Cleveland, so we prepared for both, and so we have some practice with it, knowing one team is a likely winner, and we'll shift our focus there a little bit more.
Not that you're necessarily willing to share it with all of us, but do you discuss with your team which of these two might be a better matchup for you and who you'd rather play?
With the players?
With the players, these next 2 teams.
No, not at all.
Given the way that you guys won, sweeping the Nets and stifling Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, how much confidence does that give your team heading into the next round, even though you don't know who your opponent will be?
Yeah, it's a big boost. We talked about doing it the way we wanted to do it, which was letting the chips fall where they may, not trying to avoid or manipulate anything. And so when you see other teams that were doing it that way, I think the message, like I said, I sent to our guys was, we'll worry about ourselves. We wanted to play well toward the end of the season, and we did that, kind of culminating with the Memphis game where we played it out. And for us, that was the focus, and the players echoed that statement, like, let's worry about ourselves, and whatever opponent happens. And so to do it against a high-quality team that is not your typical 7 seed, it bodes well for us going forward. But we understood this is the playoffs, and you're going to have to play really good teams regardless. And so one thing we talked about is we're a basketball team. We're not a track team. We're not running from people, so we'll focus on it that way.
Coach, I have a Zoom question from John Corrales.
Ime, either way, whoever you face, but we probably can figure out who the more likely opponent is. You're going to face a much tougher defensive team. How do you prepare the team for that smack in the face game 1? Like, no matter what they go through, that playoff intensity in game 1 is going to be unlike anything they faced earlier in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's different. Every team presents different challenges, and what Brooklyn did is going to be obviously different than what these 2 teams are capable of doing defensively. But at the same time, offensively, we've seen 2 really good players against Brooklyn, and we'll focus on that side as well. So we'll have advantages on both. And like I said, it's more traditional coverage, nothing that we haven't seen this year, and we've had some success against both teams. And so understanding that they're not going to beat themselves, they're going to play with a more physical style defensively, and we're prepared for that. I think our record and what we've done over the last few months has shown we've seen a lot of really good defensive teams, some really good offensive teams, and have managed that well.
Wrap it up right there. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.